Good afternoon. This is Anand Sharma from CXOTV.news, a flagship brand under the umbrella of Techplus Media Group. A warm hello and welcome to everybody. This is the second year of our webinar series titled Marketing Mondays. We have been touching upon various topics of interest to the marketing fraternity, and you can watch all the past events on demand at www.cxotv.news. Today's topic is tips, tricks, and hacks of marketing. Well, the world witnessed unprecedented and unforeseen magnitude of catastrophes. We all went through rapid transformations to survive. With budgets nearly dried out, let us learn what our marketing leaders did differently to salvage the situation. Further, what sort of hidden ammunitions are up their sleeves that they use in day-to-day operations. When we go to Google to find the tips and tricks of marketing, we get all the more confused with so many out there. Let's learn from the leaders about what's going to make a difference and what's not. We have an eminent panel today to guide us through some of such queries. What to and how to marketing in 2022 and what would be the tips and tricks and hacks of marketing. We have Mr. George Johnny, Global Head of Sales and Marketing Strategy, Airlines and Travel segment of Sutherland Global Services. And we have Mr. Sandeep Rai, Senior Vice President and Head of APAC, Affiliate Marketing and Business Development, Lazada Southeast Asia and Alibaba Group Company. May I request George to please give a little bit more introduction about yourself.
To the folks on this call, thank you so much for this opportunity to CXO TV and greetings to Sandeep and Anand as well. So see, just like Anand mentioned, this was a blackout, right? The pandemic was a blackout for everybody. That doesn't mean that people stopped thinking or people didn't act. I think the governments around the world acted very swiftly. We imposed lockdowns. It was terrible. But at the same time, companies were out there with contracts. You had to deliver. Companies were out there having to get their demand generation engine, get sales in line. Whatever was possible was there. And then the innovation engine started thinking, right? I mean, necessity is the mother of invention. Right, so I would just at the outset give a few high-level points of the macro trends which Anand already mentioned. Everybody had to leverage technology. Well, you can't move, you can't take a plane, you can't take even your own car. You probably were located in any city in any part of the world where your society or your apartment or your background was sealed, and you could not leave the precincts of your own house. You were even scared to even move to another flat owner or another house because it was also not advisable because of social distancing, which means that we had to leverage technology. So you had to check whether all the cameras at home worked, whether you had a proper broadband, and that's what the companies also did, right? They made sure the employees were safe and they had the right kind of technology. Now, what survived and what didn't survive, I don't want to get into details. What I want to say is, from a marketing perspective, I think this was a great time from an innovation perspective. So the first thing that we decided, or a group of people who are closely connected in the industry decided, was let's connect with our customers. Let's not give them time to speculate, because if you're not in front of the person, you lose the sale. So at least you need to be in touch with them, and that's what we did, especially in my industry, which is airlines and travel. All the aircraft were in the desert. You have read about enough of that. So it was important to keep the customer warm, keep the connections on. And of course, then you observe trends, right? Cargo business started going up and passenger business started going down. And then digital adoption was the biggest key. So if you want to market to a particular segment in the world, you need to understand the trends in that segment. You need to understand what has the pandemic cost in that segment. After careful study, then you can use all the techniques that you have. And I don't want to get into the traditional techniques, the 5 P's of marketing. I don't want to get into all those things. What I want to say is, you got to differentiate your product. Now, how would you differentiate a product when you don't have a face-to-face meeting, when you don't have an event? So you go to a platform. So for example, this is a platform. So here, Anand can have all the ads going around, right? Whether it's A brand or B brand. I don't want to mention any brands in this seminar. Whatever brands that he is connected with, he can showcase here. And you click and you get a lead. So then the platforms, you start investing in those kind of platforms, right? That's number one. Number two is you have to show some value. So, you can't be at the bottom of the barrel in terms of the sale. You have, or the price. You have to show some values. You've got to say, hey, you know what? This is a great time. The pandemic is caused a lot of disruption. Why don't we look at those things in a closet which you never looked at? Let's re-engineer those things because the teams can work remotely, right? So you start innovating and stuff. So I'll leave these thoughts on the table, and then I'll come to each of these with some examples, and then pass it on to Sandeep, who I'm sure is eminent with Alibaba, is one of the largest portals in the world. So over to him for his thoughts, and back to Anand.
Yeah, you want to give a little bit introduction about yourself, George, as to what you have been
Oh
doing?
yeah. Okay, sure. Sorry, I got fully involved in the subject. So my role is I head the overall business for the airlines and travel at Sutherland. I've been fortunate to build this business from scratch in a startup called Adventity, and we have a wonderful set of customers around the world, leading airlines, travel companies, shared economy customers, and so on and so forth. And it's a pretty I would say pretty fast-growing business, and we consider ourselves among the topmost firms in the world offering this service.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you all through this digital forum. Thanks for having me here, Anand, and it's great to connect with you as well, George. I'll give a quick background introduction about myself and what we have been doing in the past couple of years. I have been in the tech and e-commerce industry for over 10 years. I was part of the launch team of Amazon in India. So if you guys are familiar with the crazy e-commerce wars that was going on between Amazon, Flipkart, and Snapdeal, you might recollect how 2012 to 2015 was like. So I was quite fortunate to be part of that early journey. Really learned a lot. I saw the team scale from about 10 people of us in a coffee shop to about 1,600 people taking over an entire office. So that gave me a lot of confidence into what's coming up in future, especially from the digital marketing and the marketing side of things. Then I moved on to co-found a startup in Malaysia. I was fascinated by the e-commerce opportunities in Southeast Asia. And then after doing a couple of roles with startups in Southeast Asia, most recently I joined Alibaba Group's division, which is Lazada. Lazada is the Amazon of Southeast Asia, and I am the senior vice president for the entire region. I look after partnership, business development, and affiliate marketing. And that's pretty much a quick background about myself. And to give you, what has been happening in the past couple of years, I totally echo with George. This is a testing time for most businesses, and we saw many businesses reinvent themselves, go on to the digital bandwagon, and so on and so forth. But fortunately for e-commerce, it was the other way around. So we saw immense spike in consumer demand because of lockdown, and unfortunately many people were trying to buy essential items, many people were trying to shop for services which they couldn't get in a traditional offline setup, right? So all of those demand came onto the online e-commerce portal, and it's quite a different journey. So I'm happy to walk through that in the coming session. So really excited to share those learnings and hacks that we learned along the way during the course of the past 2 years.
I'm delighted and honored to have both of you on this panel. Well, let me share the disclaimer. The thoughts exchanged on this platform by the panelists are their own and may not represent or subscribe to the organization they work with. Thank you once again, George and Sandeep. George, starting with you in the alphabetical order of your first name. Let's start with what sort of tricks you had to employ during the last 2 years to tide the difficult times. Over to you.
Sure. I took a drive to this office, and I was thinking about cars. When you drive a car, you think about cars, right? If you're based in India and you like to buy a car, you like to compare the different models. All the cars look the same. All the cars are the same RPM, fuel efficiency. I don't know whether bucket seats or Bluetooth panels are interesting anymore. Cruise control seem to be the same. How do you differentiate? So if this question has been answered, I would say, let's say Sandeep, I'm trying to hazard a guess what car he has. But if he were to choose between a high-end luxury vehicle, A brand versus B brand, I told you I don't want to bring brands into this call. So he would probably drive a car which is more comfortable with based on his experience. Now, as per a McKinsey study, 20% of people like Sandeep, you cannot touch them. They are not vulnerable folks. They decide on a brand, they go to a store, whether it's a car or a washing machine or a microwave, whatever it is, they'll go and buy that. Where does the difference come in? How do you influence a normal person? Now, Sandeep is not a normal guy. It's difficult to sell him stuff, right? He's an outstanding professional out there, and he knows what he wants, and he does a lot of research before he enters the store. Now, for that, and I'll come to B2B soon. I'm in the B2C space, by the way. You know how things are sold in our country or anywhere in the world. The finance companies are out there. So they have, you must have seen the ads for some luxury cars. 50,999 per month, drive it home today. 19,999, drive it home today. So what happens is the brand loyalties for the 80%. I talked about the 20% earlier who can't touch. What McKinsey says, the 80% are vulnerable. So within this 80%, you have tons of people who will look at the EMI, who look at the other options, and they see value in that because after all, they're going to spend money to buy the good. So if the EMI option is better or the financial value is better, they drive that particular brand home. Maybe the inventory is not available. The salesman says this car is available in 3 weeks' time. Well, this one is available. It's got a better EMI. Why not drive it home? Who's going to wait for 3 weeks? I need the car. My wife is waiting. It's my anniversary. I need to give her a gift. Things like that. So taking it to the B2B space, it's far more complex in a way because there all prices are same. All the services and products are the same. How do you differentiate? So then we have a concept called total contract value. So total contract value is the price that you pay a supplier or a vendor or a platform player for that many years of the contract. Now you have some financial engineering metrics there, right? So it's probably a mix of marketing and finance. So you have to attract the customer to the best financial option to make sure you are differentiated and you're not bottom of the barrel. But that's one trick which a lot of companies use. You must have seen these large IT deals happening. It's 100 million, it's 50 million, it's 1 billion, 2 billion. Can you imagine the differentiator that you have when you play with finance at that end? So it's not just a $100,000 decision anymore. It's a decision made by the board of the company to go for a particular vendor in B2B. But that's where the financial engineer comes in a lot. Now, I'm not saying Alibaba and Amazon don't do it. They do a whole lot of work at the back end to make sure that their goods are procured at the right time, they have the right warehouses, and they have this one-day delivery, this wonderful one-day delivery, right? Or the same-day delivery fulfilled by XYZ brand, right? So, I mean, if you look at marketing comes in much, much earlier before even you start manufacturing. You look at, like I said, you look at the trends, you look at the products that you want to play with, look at the right price, all the fundamentals there. And this is the value part of it, whether it's the price, the financial engineering that you do, or the positioning that you do. And you have to choose your battles. As a company, you can't be everywhere. You got to choose your battles. If China is not your place, don't go there. If India is not a place, don't go there. If Europe is not a place, don't go there. Just play in America. If Maharashtra is not your place, go to Kerala. If Kerala is not your place, go to Delhi, right? So it doesn't matter. If Singapore is not your place, go to Taipei. If you're in the electronic space or in the mobile space or in the laptop space. So the trick really is to have so much of insight into that particular market because all companies are not doing everything, right? They are niche players. They are segmented very well. So you need to understand the segment and decide a strategy. So I just like to summarize. Financial engineering is very critical and is a very important. It's not a trick really, but it's more of a value that you bring to differentiate your stuff. And if I take it to B2C, I can just complete that story by saying that when this person goes to the store, let's say Sandeep -1, somebody who's not so brand conscious or just a normal person, he or she is swayed by the finance options on the table. You have the different banks or different non-banking finance companies, and they just sway the person. The brand lines are completely blurred, and the decision is made on the finance option. And then the brand is not gone. Brand is still there. Of course, the brand has to fulfill the basic needs of the human mind. As long as it can warm my coffee and tea, it can warm my water, it can warm my bread. I don't mind which microwave I take home, as long as it's 6.6% by XYZ Bank.
No, thank you, George. Very, I'll say, novel idea brought into the discussion as to how financial modeling acts as a differentiator into customer acquisition and the entire customer journey. Okay, starting from attracting the customer and being the differentiator altogether. Thank you so much. Great observation. Sandeep, coming to you, how did you survive, or perhaps your close circle survived such a long drawn tsunami of COVID? What methods you yourself or you saw the industry employing during these times?
Absolutely. So first of all, I completely agree with George. So essentially what we saw happen during the pandemic is people started believing in value, right? So at the end of the day, they don't want to go and splurge. With the limited resources they might have, they want to really pick and choose the battles or pick and choose the products they want to buy. With e-commerce, what we saw, essentially there are two major things which kind of propelled our business going forward, right? So one was the rise of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we have been talking about this topic for more than 5 years or 6 years from now, but the past 2 years were really the testing times of all of those models and whether that works, or how does that add value to the customer, and how do you optimize your algorithm, how do you optimize your marketing budgets. So we really saw that happen right in front of our eyes, how that was very crucial to the make or break of business models. The second major theme that came across in the past 2 years that helped a lot of good companies survive was again the rise of content marketing, right? So there was absolutely high demand for interactive and immersive content. So I'll come to the point in a while. So let me just talk about the first point, which is why artificial intelligence and machine learning played an important role, right? So we saw across the board, many companies had their marketing budget slashed, right? So when you have limited amount of marketing dollars with you and you have to go and acquire the customer that you used to acquire, maybe 3 times or 4 times more the cost, to George's earlier point, you can invest in a branding campaign, you can go, you can invest in an event, you can bring in the celebrities, you can kind of make a, huge PR story around all of the activities that you're doing. And then again, like companies, what they used to do before was leverage on those branding campaigns, the millions of dollars that they spend on those campaigns, and then start acquiring customers for their services, right? So the last 2 years, many businesses did not have that luxury, right? Either because it was not possible to do a huge branding event when people are in their homes, or because they didn't have the money to do it. It's as simple as that, right? So now you have your marketing budgets, which is probably 20 to 30% of what you used to have before. How do you efficiently use that and still acquire customers and scale your business, right? For many businesses, it was about survival, right? E-commerce, of course, was a very fortunate situation to be in the unfortunate scheme of things. But however, for many businesses, it was a do or die, right? So what really helped them is the rise of digital media, the rise of good platforms to advertise, and at the same time, how do you optimize your marketing spend to your exact needs, right? So do you want customers at the top of the funnel? Yes, here are the channels you have to target. You want customers at the bottom of the funnel? Here are the channels you have to target. You have to kind of retarget these existing customers. Here are the channels you can use, right? So I saw a huge increase in the awareness of using digital channels. I saw a huge increase in the size of businesses, irrespective of the size of business, be it the big companies, huge brands, be it the small and medium businesses. Everybody was talking digital. Everybody was talking digital terminology, which was actually a good thing to see and notice as a digital marketer myself, right? So to be honest, I've been like longing for this moment where everybody can speak the same language, and this was like a perfect opportunity where everybody I meet in conferences, in like events, or even dinner at my friends, they all talk about retargeting, they all talk about digital marketing, what acquisition hacks are you using, and so on and so forth. So that to me was a very promising sign. So companies became more smart in investing the limited dollars they have and acquire the same customers that they used to acquire before. And this is only possible because of machine learning and artificial intelligence, right? Optimizing algorithms, and there are many startups that came into the space which are helping those businesses do that. The second part, which I also see happen, is which is actually the side effect of the first one, right? Now we have more and more digital ads. So, and sometimes there's oversupply of ads. We do a lot of customer surveys. We talk to customers. They say, we just see too much of your ads. Everywhere, we just see, Amazon ads, Alibaba ads, Flipkart ads. Guys, give it a break, right? Like, so, we know that we're online. We know that we're on social channels. We know that, we are increasingly using online medium to communicate, but, stop bothering us with so much ads. So that was the side effect of the first benefit, which I just mentioned, right? So what happened was a lot of good brands, increasingly, they started realizing this pretty early into the journey, right? They realized that, what, just throwing advertisements at people is no longer going to be enough, right? The customers also understand it's an essential service. They still need to go ahead and, book a cab. They still need to go and book book groceries to deliver to their home. They need to book a service to their home. So they know they have to do it, right? So how do you do it without bothering the customer so much, right? At the end of the day, we don't want to compromise on the customer experience. We don't want to kind of, just be so much in their face that they just get tired of seeing us, right? And that's when I saw a good emergence of content marketing. I saw the immersive content and the interactive content doing wonders in this space compared to just a simple ad which just says, buy now, discounts, sales, this sale, that sale. Customers were fed up. They were at a point where, like, just tell us what it is, right? And that's where we saw the emergence of good content based advertisements, which were well appreciated by the customers. They knew it was a paid promotion. They knew it was, sponsored by the companies. But in spite of that, the fact that the companies took effort to kind of create that content, to educate the customers, to kind of give reviews about the product, to kind of, say, hey, what, these are the influencers who tried the product and these are the things that worked. So it was well appreciated by the consumers. So the Lazada had a platform called Laz Live, which was our own version of, Facebook Live or Instagram Live that, that you see on other portals. So we gave the platform for small and medium businesses and also large companies to use the platform and sell their products. So there, instead of the sellers, instead of trying to kind of convince the customers through ads, they were interacting with our portal, interacting with our platform, and then they're trying to sell value of their products instead of just trying to over promise and oversell through ads. So I think these are the two major industry shifts that I saw happen in the past 2 years. One is machine learning and artificial intelligence. The second is creating more interactive and informative content.
Great insights, Sandeep. Thank you so much. You want to add something, George, to the discussion?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you hit a very, very strong point in the way customers perceive things, because what they say, I keep forgetting it, but people are not interested in just transactions. People are interested in experiences. So imagine before the pandemic, you were able to go to a store, look at that little nice bottle of jam, or even if the most frequent thing that you bought is milk, you'd still turn over the jar and check the expiry date, right? Now, I like to use a word called trust. The moment the pandemic came and everything was closed, you got to trust the e-commerce portal to buy that product. Now, how do you build trust? So the only way is by content. So you got to make sure that the content is in a way in which the buying experience is as similar or even better. You don't have to go to the store. You can get it home. So if you see the last mile, a lot of last mile companies cropped up, whether it is Swiggy, Zomato in India, or if it is delivery, or maybe others like Deliveroo in Europe. You saw that in the United States as well. You had all the retail companies, the top 5 retail companies in America. They had the last mile. They had, you just book online, pick it up and go. They didn't have the last mile. So they innovated so much, right? So it's all about, like I said, the whole end-to-end chain, the buying experience. So we as a company have an expertise also in the end-to-end customer experience. So we advise customers on how to make sure the end-to-end buying experience is great. Because the pandemic, like I said earlier, it was a complete unexpected, it's not in anybody's business plan. So the moment it struck, you had to go back to the drawing board and redraw almost everything, the whole end-to-end process of manufacturing, procuring, buying, delivering, selling. Like Sandeep said, the whole, and then to help ourselves, you need to know that this customer frequently bought this item. So you must have gone to see on these portals. It says, you know what? Hey, you have bought this. Others have bought this also. You have bought this earlier. Come on. Those functionalities already there before, but the use of AI was just quadrupled. I mean,
Absolutely.
look at companies like XX Path. Didn't they make a whole lot of money? Or YY Path? They went on Nasdaq, right? The valuations went heavy, and so much of innovations happened. Sometimes people are saying, was this pandemic really a boon or a bane? It was both. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Tons of people got sick. Tons of people died. It was absolutely terrible. But on the other hand, like Sandeep said, the fortunate side of things was also there. And one important point I'd like to add is the practices which were taught to us. There's a saying, right? You do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit.
Hmm.
So, the pandemic was in March, and then it's now we are in what? I'm used to working at home. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
reporting to my bedroom or my study. I'm not reporting to my office where my CEO or my president is going to say, "Hi, how are you doing?" Or I don't even meet them face to face. I don't even what they look like. Maybe
Yeah.
it's an AI based system. I don't even know whether it's Sandeep or it's a robo now. It's a very smart robo if it's a robo. So I think those are my comments to what Sandeep said. I'm just trying to dovetail what he mentioned as the 2-3 trends which he saw, and I see absolutely the same. It's nice to the former CEO or chairman of Apple said, it's easy to go back and connect the dots. I had no clue in March 2020 or April what to do. I'll be honest. But as I
True.
studied the trends, like I said, as you study the trends, always when you try to market a product or do a sale, study the segment you're in, study the ecosystem, study the geo, and then bring out a strategy. You will not necessarily be a winner, but you'll be a leader for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Coming to my next question, George. We have talked about what modifications we had to do or were forced upon us to do. Uh, there's set processes for almost everything these days, right? How difficult, or let me say, how ethical it is to deviate from them and employ, tricks, hacks to achieve any end goal. Okay. Uh, we also call them workaround, and we also call them jugaad. So, would you like to support with an example?
Sure, I'll make it very, very simple. I had probably 2,500 LinkedIn connections or maybe lesser at the beginning of the pandemic. I think now I've got 3,500, which means 1,500 connections were established in 18 months. And you divide by 18, you get maybe 10 connections a day, or I don't know, 100 connections, whatever it is. So it's a whole lot of connections I got in 15 months. Uh, how did I do it? So if I try to connect with Sandeep in the peak of non-pandemic days, probably take a few weeks to say hello to me. He's busy. I'm not saying he's not busy in the pandemic time, but if I connect with somebody at 1 a.m. in the morning and I get a response, that person is in Boston, and this is like maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever it is, he or she connects because they are very close to the computer, and everybody is paranoid. Some people are thinking, do I have a job? Tomorrow, am I going to have a job? Oh, I have a job. My colleague is pinging me. Must be something urgent. People have moved from a zone of a very comfortable life into a completely dark life. Imagine you're at home. You just got your family with you. You're not met your colleagues for months. There's a lot of stuff getting into your head. You barely have gone for a walk. The physio is telling you your fitness is terrible, but the physio can't meet you. You're not gone to your gym. You're not played your favorite game. You're not had your favorite drink. The bars are closed. What do you do? So I'm saying everything was allowed. I'm not saying it's ethical or unethical. I think to ping somebody so late in the night is fine because they were watching a Netflix movie. It was fine. So I would say I didn't take advantage, but I observed this and I put up conference calls at 11 p.m. and they would accept. And then there were a lot of people who reported saying this is not right. You're making people work more. It was purely voluntary. If I work for Sandeep and you both were my managers and you'd ping me at 11:30, I would accept because I'm doing nothing really at 11:30, and I have no vision of what I'm doing at 8 in the morning because my gym is closed, my club is closed, I can't go out. So everything goes, I would say, but of course, as a corporate, I would advise the same rules apply. Don't do anything ethical and non-ethical in the marketplace. One of the tricks, as an example, that I would again give is like what's my favorite example, and I don't want to say it's Sutherland or anything, but it's a common practice. See, you often finish as top 3, right? If you're a B2B marketing, you finish top 3, and how do you become number 1? Everything is the same. It's a topic where everyone discusses. So you have to bring in that value. Now, if you don't want to be in that race, also the tip and trick is discuss pricing ahead of the RFP with the customer, if he's open to that, and tell them this is our price range. You don't need to discuss it's so many cents per transaction, or suppose somebody is coming to, in B2C is not really a great example, but in B2B, yes. So discuss the pricing with the customer, discuss the value with the customer, and educate the customer as much as you can about your product or service. So if you want to win Sandeep's heart as a BMW, before he comes to the store, push a lot of material to him. Send him the value, the financial values, engineering, everything. Because then when he goes to the Mercedes counter, he's not going to buy the Mercedes because all this is in his head. And he comes back to you and says, hey, you know what, give me that car. He's not going to even argue with you because he's already done the sale in his mind many months ago.
Absolutely.
So to avoid that being one of the 3 and getting the bronze medal and going home sad at the end of the day, is better to be proactive with the client. And that's a tip I like to give, irrespective of the pandemic. But in the pandemic, it became more crucial because you are not face to face with your customer. And when you're talking on a WebEx or a phone call, the level of trust is not that great when you're talking face to face. People are thinking, oh, is this right? Is it ethical? Is it compliance? And we have to be honest with the client. This is my proposition. It's not something hideous or is non-compliant. It's a very straightforward submission to you that this is the value that my company can provide to you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, is what I feel.
Very true. Very true. I'm 100% with you, George. You know, they say the sale is made way ahead. In the pipeline, right? So you rightly said that we need to capture the mind share of the client or the prospect much before we ask for the actual paycheck or sale.
Just one more point I like to add from a B2C perspective, and this is what I observed. Okay, when the
Sure.
stores started opening up, especially in Mumbai, there is a particular modern milk manufacturer. I don't want to mention the brand because this is a brandless conversation, right? I mean, brandlessness, we don't want to pursue or promote any brands. There's a young girl who's just done her MBA, and she's got a nice counter, and she's got all these quarter-liter, milk bottles lying up there. And she says it's about 8:30. I think she started the counter, and she closes at 12 o'clock. Milk can get spoiled in the hot sun in Mumbai, right? So she's done it very nicely between 8:30 to 11 o'clock or whatever. She takes it out of a nice little freezer that she's brought with herself, a nice ice pack. So I asked her, what are you doing here? She said, I'm promoting this, and you don't have to buy it, but you have to taste it and fill a form. I said, this is nice. I mean, this is very old fashioned, right? Nothing great about it. The emphasis which the company was trying to do was, you walk into the store, before you enter the store, they make you taste a small sample of it, which costs them a fraction. They pay this girl a transaction cost of whatever for the marketing. And when you walk in, you buy that 2-liter bottle of milk because it tastes awesome. Indians in Indians are not used to drinking milk straight off the bottle. If you really look at and they were trying to create a paradigm shift in the country by saying, hey, you know what, if you go to Europe, if you'll have been, I went to Europe very, very early, many years ago. I mean, people told me just drink it off the fridge. And I say, what, is it boiled? It'll be, what about Mr. Pasture? Is it pasteurized? A lot of things in your head. Your mother has told you never drink anything bad, you'll fall sick. I just drank it. So I just saw this and I just took a parallel to where I've seen such promotions where you bring the product in the front of the client before you walk in, make the person taste a sample. So take it to the B2B world, is try and buy. Just like Sandeep said, you bring AI ML, show your glitzy product working on the WebEx or the Zoom or the Cisco, whatever you have. They look at these products and they say, hey, this is fantastic, man. It's better than the face-to-face demo they used to have on this old overhead projector somewhere in the middle of Stockholm or London or Boston or wherever you are selling, or Singapore. Let me not miss Kuala Lumpur as well, just for the sake of it, right? I'm just saying, just try and buy program. So these programs became more and more important because you're not meeting the person face to face. You're not having a drink with them in the bar, or you're not having dinner with them. Those social things are gone completely. So how would you sell? This is what they do.
Very true. Very true. Thanks, George. Thanks for the insights. Great ones. Sandeep, coming back to you, what are your thoughts on tricks and hacks in marketing?
Sure. So I think thanks, George, for raising a very relevant point from a B2B sales point of view, right? I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, B2B sales is all about relationships, right? So in the previous days, you used to travel, you need to meet the client, you need to wine and dine with them, you go to conferences, you go to events, and you kind of build that level of trust with them. And many people make that mistake that, they think that they can replicate all of this on a Zoom call, right? Which is not entirely true, right? And I like your approach, which is just be honest and upfront, share the pricing and everything. Don't do this dance, first I'll share something, then I'll cut it by 20%, and all of this stuff, just give it upfront, right? And then let the customer decide whether it's value for them or not, right? And so I think that has cut short a lot of the for lack of a better word, the unniceties that come along with the sale, that you have to do this, you have to do that. So just get straight to the value. If it's value, the client will buy it. If they don't think it's value, the client will not buy it. I think that I love that example that you quoted. So coming back to what I saw as a good hack and tips in the digital side of things, is going back to my earlier point, right? In Southeast Asia alone, where I'm based out of Singapore and I oversee the 7 Southeast Asian markets, we saw 40 million new customers transacting for the first time ever just last year. And Alibaba Group's Lazada in Southeast Asia, they crossed 100 millionth customer just last year, right? And this was a 3x jump compared to the previous years. So what I saw was, yes, there were a few businesses which were doing well. There were a few businesses that had the budgets, that had the marketing dollars, but there were so many other businesses which did not have access to. But there is one common theme that I saw many businesses do a very good job, which is establishing strategic partnerships with other companies in the same space, right? To leverage on the non-competing strengths to grow each other. So I saw that really happen in Southeast Asia, especially when they figured out, what, I'm going to spend $100, you're going to spend $100. If there's a way for us, both of us, to save like $50, why not? And there was not a better time to save than now, right? So I saw startups partnering with other startups, bundling their products. They kind of figured out that, what, we are not competing with each other. I'm an e-commerce store, that sells pet products. I'm an e-commerce store that sells, groceries, right? And I'm never going to compete with each other, right? So why can't I just combine our efforts? Why can't I just leverage some of the media inventory I got? Why can't I, have like one, a Facebook marketeer to do marketing for both the products? There's nothing wrong in doing that, right? And that was a huge thing that really worked wonders here. So I would, for anyone who's aspiring to start a business or anyone who's in the digital space, I would totally recommend this, right? So I gave an example of a small and medium businesses trying to partner with each other and share the marketing knowledge with each other, or share the marketing collateral and inventory with each other, so that they get the best return on the marketing dollar that they spend. Coming to the other side of the equation, the big companies, right? They entered into so much strategic partnerships, and they no longer wanted to just spend money on Facebook and Google, right? So we made partnerships with Citibank, with MasterCard, with financial institutions. We made partnership with logistics companies. We made partnerships with advertising companies. So we just figured out that as long as our end goal is to service to the customer who's buying the product, it really doesn't matter who's competing, who's number one, who's number two, right? So we are all in the business of making the customer happy, making sure that they have a good experience, making sure that they get the right product at the right price and on the right time. So that's all that matters. And if you are doing that either by yourself or with a partnership with someone else, how does it really matter, right? So strategic partnerships for me is a very, very underrated channel today. And I really think there is a lot of potential, especially for small companies which don't have enough marketing dollars.
Very valid point brought back home, Sandeep, and you made me thinking as to what we can do at our end at CXO TV. Okay,
Yeah.
no, thank you so much, George. Moving on to my last question to you, what sort of tips you would like to share with the audience to prepare themselves for future?
Yeah, I think this is. I hope this doesn't happen again. First of all, and I think this has taught us many lessons. And like take one point from what Sandeep said, the new customers which came on the platform, which means there are always new customers. Many years ago, I was talking at one of the management colleges, and they asked me, "Is there a room for a new watch company?" This is even when Titan was very small. I said, "Yes, there is room even for a new watch company tomorrow. There's always room." What did the pandemic teach us, really? If you look at the iceberg, right? A human being is like the iceberg, right? Whatever is seen on the top is not seen below. You don't even know how big or small I am. You're just seeing the front part of me. You don't know whether I'm heavy, whether I'm a sports person, or I'm a management person or a sales person. You don't know much about me, right? You just see what is on the surface. The pandemic has brought many emotions of this iceberg on top, which was hidden below the water. So, like Sandeep said, new customers for platforms, new technologies, new innovations. And how did this all happen? It all happened because of this huge catastrophic pandemic which hit the world. You had to really think. Like I said, necessity is the mother of invention. So my answer to the audience who's watching is whatever we did as a company. Like if I say employees, we took care of people. We made sure they had broadband, they had enough allowances to take care of themselves. Because just imagine, I'm moving people from the office. They have to have stable electricity at home. They have to have broadband. They have to have comfort. They have to have proper chairs. So we provided all these things. So from a future perspective, I think we need to work in a very flexible hybrid mode. I would rather go for hybrid rather than say everybody come to office or everybody stay at home. I think we need to be prepared for the best and the worst. Before the pandemic, we only planned for the day. I think now we need to plan for the night. We need to plan for a bad sales month, and we need to plan for a good sales month. It's not going to be a feasting and fasting anymore. It's going to be always be alert to the night. We always had a great time. We always had a great world. You will see currency fluctuations. You will see maybe mortgage collapses. You'll see, a lot of other things. Bitcoin is coming up. I don't know where it's going to take us. So I think in the future, a lot of financial pandemics could come in. A lot of other things will come in. So you need to be on the watch and prepare your firm, whether you're a small firm or a big firm. And like Sandeep rightly said, you got to have the right kind of partnerships. It's just like you're buying an insurance policy, or you're taking care of your health. So because of this such a huge event, you need to look at all those contingency planning that you need to do as a company, whether you're selling a product directly to a consumer, or you're selling it to a corporate. And need to watch these trends, not just every month or every quarter. Need to watch it every day, because the time required to respond is going to be lesser and lesser. That's my advice for the future, for the audience.
Thank you so much, George. Thank you so much. Points well taken. Sandeep, is there anything from a global standpoint you wish to cover? And perhaps with an example, if you can highlight as to
Sure.
what we should be working on. Yeah.
Sure, Anand. So, echoing to what George mentioned, what I'm observing is with the prominence of digital media, there is also a lot of good governance happening in the global marketing world. So what I mean by that is, we are seeing reduced incidences of fraud. We are seeing reduced incidences of all the, the hacky ways to get traffic and so on and so forth, right? So there are a lot of startups that are emerging, which is kind of driving value to the digital traffic that we are getting right now. So I used to see this in Amazon like 6-7 years back. Back the traffic ecosystem, the advertising ecosystem was not in the best way, shape, or form, right? So we had we have heard so much stories where there were click farms in some of the developing countries where just they just invest in a few low-cost mobile phones and they just click the ads, and then they used to earn the marketing dollars that comes because of that, right? From there to right now, going back to my earlier comment, where the artificial intelligence and machine learning is taking over a lot of these things, it has had a good effect on reducing the incidences of fraud and other the non-conformist practices that is happening in the digital sector, which is a very, very promising sign. right? So follow up to that point, what I've seen across the world is if you are a marketing channel, if you are an advertising company today, the brands will come to you for the value that you give to them, right? Because the brands have so much options today, right? You're not in the market alone. You're not like controlling a huge share of the business because, Anand and George, if you have a like an Instagram profile, you could be an influencer, right? You could be promoting, Lazada, you could be promoting Uber. Like nobody's stopping you from doing that, right? And what is more valuable for someone like Alibaba Group? Is it like 100,000 George and Anand promoting our product, or like one advertising company blasting advertisements? No, it is you, it is the influencers, it is the key opinion leaders, it is the real customers who are promoting the brand, promoting the value. That's more valuable to us, right? So if you are a marketing channel today, my advice to you is, don't employ those shady tactics which you used a couple of years back. They don't work anymore, and always sell only value, right? So the channels that I handle affiliate marketing channels, and so mine is a complete cost per sale model, right? So I work with an advertising company. I pay them only after sale happens, right? So initially, there was a lot of shock that, this is not how we used to work. We used to work with like marquee brands before, and they used to pay upfront. And I'm saying like, I'm sorry, right? I don't want to pay for anything that is not adding value. I'm going to pay only after a sale happens. I'll pay you a percentage of the sale, right? So for me, it's like, like tomorrow Anand or George sells an iPhone, I give you 5% of the sale to you, right? So you become a business owner along with me. So this is the kind of, model which I see evolve across Southeast Asia and largely in many parts of the world, where, brands are no longer willing to pay for traffic which is not of high quality.
I've been taking my notes. Thank you so much. It's been very informative discussion. I thank our panelists and each one of you. Hope you liked the event as much as I did. George talked about how financial modeling can be a differentiator, do the selling beforehand, capture the mind share before the actual sale, and then we need to keep ourselves ready for any eventuality. Sandeep did touch upon actual benefits of using the algos and AI during the COVID time, good emergence of content marketing, and then you also mentioned about the 3x jump in online customers in Southeast Asia, very relevant point, and establish strategic partnerships in the same space, sell value and be quality conscious. You can make out I've been taking my notes. Thanks to George and Sandeep for making it so pointed discussion. Well, for the audience, you can watch the past Marketing Monday sessions on www.cxotv.news. Keep watching for more interesting upcoming sessions under Marketing Mondays. I wish you all success and a great week ahead. Stay safe and take care. Cheers. Bye bye.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.